Okay, now I know I said my next video was me talking about a modded game I love, but I had an idea at work I just started thinking about over and over and I just really wanted to talk about it. Until that video originally planned comes out, I have a link to a mod putting Spartan armor into Dark Souls 3. Now I'm not technically lying about my release schedule. Show from software that guns actually work against horrific monstrosities. Anyways, I was listening to Vadi video at work because I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls 2 because I hate my life, and during one of his videos a thought hit me. Warhammer would be the perfect setting for a Dark Souls clone, specifically either Fantasy or Age of Sigmar. The reason I say Dark Souls clone specifically instead of just an RPG are twofold. One, I really fucking love Dark Souls. Gameplay wise, all of the games have really hit that sweet spot for me, but more than that, I love the setting and lore of the games. You travel through a dying world where the Golden Age is long gone and the world itself is in a state of collapse. You meet heroes and villains of varying beliefs and opinions on the world and what ideology to follow, many of whom meet a grisly demise. All the while, a massive amount of lore exists for you to find and put together. As for reason 2, take those last few sentences and see how well they also describe Warhammer. Indeed, while being very different settings, Dark Souls and Warhammer have plenty in common. That's the real reason I think the setting needs a Soulslike, because the feel of the universe is perfect for one. Scrounging through ruins of dead and dying civilizations, ancient monsters are everywhere that despite their power are mere shadows of what came before them. Everyone regularly gets their shit pushed in. That's what you do in Dark Souls, and that's what the lore of Warhammer is. Why not combine them? I think it could be done two ways depending on the tone and how Dark Soulsy you want to get. One would set the game in Warhammer Fantasy, the other in Age of Sigmar. If you want more of a Souls-light experience, and more importantly, does the Games Workshop exec in charge of the project want to shill new Sigmarines, then the game could be set somewhere in the Mortal Realms. This should be the more Souls-light instead of a total clone because Age of Sigmar lends itself more to a traditional RPG than Fantasy does in my opinion, at least for the purposes of this video. Because sure, the Golden Age of the Gods is long gone and Chaos has come back, but the Gods are launching grand offenses against Chaos on occasion. And not only that, but they're powerful enough to kick the shit out of each other even when Chaos is knocking on their door. To me, it doesn't quite have the Dark Souls feeling of everything being 5 minutes before the end of the world. It's more a few months before a regionally sized disaster if you follow along with that tortured analogy. The combat I imagine would be the same between the games, but there could be a much more in-depth level of plot involvement in the Age of Sigmar version. Maybe there's a hub town with generic town NPCs instead of 5 masterfully crafted ones that inevitably either meet a horrible fate or shank you in the ribs for your life force like a magical crackhead. You could have plenty of Dark Souls-inspired ideas like getting a lot of lore through items and such, or whatever they rename Estus and bonfires to, but with a main story and setting that isn't completely incoherent without a degree in lore-drain archaeology. Plus, in Age of Sigmar, I think there'd be a lot more flexibility with multiple races, lore-wise. An elf and a Duardin would be a lot more willing to work together than a Dawi and an Aesir, for instance. Your wandering Godkiller could see a lot more of the Age of Sigmar universe in a lore-friendly way without every potential NPC trying to slaughter them for being an enemy of their race. However, let's say this doesn't quite appeal to you. What if you want the full Dark Souls experience, where you have no idea what's going on, the number of people who don't want you dead can be counted on a bomb disposal technician's hand, and everything around you has been decaying for so long that the ruins you encounter are just a fractional remnant of something that has already been ruined thousands of years ago. Then stepping up to Warhammer Fantasy Souls, title pending of course. This game in my mind is just straight up Dark Souls with a Warhammer Fantasy skin. Same as the Age of Sigmar version, combat could just be the same as it is in Dark Souls, and the lore is already perfect in Fantasy for a Dark Souls atmosphere. All that's needed truthfully are a few names to be switched around and a beautiful yet haunting world map to explore and get pulverized in. Hollows could be vampirically animated zombies or the husks of mortals corrupted by chaos. Boss fights could be similar, going from some orc war boss that doesn't live up to previous ones like Grom or Azag to a Strigoi amongst the ruins of an ancient vampire's crypt. This could go all the way up to certain named characters, because let's be honest, who hasn't wanted to dodge roll Wulfric the Wanderer to death? You can tell me you haven't in the comments, but I won't believe you because I need to live in my delusional world where these ideas have merit. This would give an amazing chance to explore the Warhammer world while also remaining a faithful Dark Souls clone. Why does this grand elven city have 3 NPCs that don't hate me and a whole lot of demons and orcs in it? Well, you wandered into Torre of Rest, which has like 1 elf for every 10 buildings. How come every time I leave a save point, I'm immediately assaulted by beastmen? Because the forests of the Empire are human territory in name and on maps alone. If you also don't mind the game being a bit more restrictive, it can explain why you don't see many elf or dwarf NPCs, or don't explore the most famous of their realms and instead stick mostly to remnants and ruins. Because of course some random Umgi wearing half a set of elven Ithamar and the skin of a 3-month-old vampire he butchered isn't allowed into Karazakarak. What a mouthful of a sentence to get out properly. And boy, can you have one hell of an inscrutable plot. You could spend hours putting together how the ultimate plot of the game ties into pushing back the ultimate victory of Chaos or the return of Nagash, or don't bother with it and just accept you'll be killing a ton of big scary enemies because it's the Warhammer world and they're everywhere that isn't the streets of Altdorf on a good day. And as much of a shitstorm as it would be, I think it might be a good way to use the end times. Were they awful? Yeah. they were, but in the same vein as Dark Souls 3 being the last gasp of the final age of fire, this can be set in the final days as chaos consumes the world more and more. As you progress through the campaign, it can go from a ruined but not inherently evil world to a hellscape in ways reminiscent of Bloodborne or Doom levels. Progress from fighting bandits as common enemies with the occasional hedge mage to the warriors of chaos and worse running rampant across the planet. Or if you really want to lean on the hopeless lever, have it set after the end times. Retcon the lore that the world apparently just exploded when chaos took over. The northern and southern wastes hadn't done so when chaos first entered the world, so it isn't that crazy of a stretch. As the Oak of Ages fell and chaos fully consumed the world, quote-unquote survivors are left to survive as long as possible, knowing that in the end it's fruitless as chaos has already won. Your character can have the Dark Souls backstory with 2 sentences describing what they did in a vague way when you pick their class, but otherwise it doesn't matter for a story because the world is over. All that's left to do is kill as many big bads as you can and hope that when you finally die you can say you did so with your chest held high and more levels and strength than anything else, you dirty dex-build cocksucker. Whichever route these games took, I think they'd be phenomenal if properly made. A lot of effort would need to go into them because Dark Souls isn't something that's easy to rip off like PUBG or Minecraft. Hey, look at that, a video on that very topic, wow. And unfortunately Games Workshop hates fun and their fan base, but I think if someone pulled it off, it'd be a hit. Sure, everyone would know it's a rip-off, but who cares? It's more of a style of a game everyone loves, and if you're a Warhammer fan, you already know the settings are grounded in the ideas of other franchises. Give me Warhammer Giant Dad. I want to backstab Archaon into the Shadow Realm and point down Emota's corpse. Let me know if this sounds appealing to you as well. The Rat Space program is coming next, and after that, I think I'll have enough footage for that video that I was going to make first instead of this. Thanks for watching. Take care out there. Alright, let's just see what's around this corner real quick and